Hey everybody, welcome to the Cube Vanguard. And so the title of the Cube Vanguard this week is K3K Hurray. What does that mean? Well, I was wandering around Lincoln as you do during breaks or whatever, and occasionally you stumble on something and you go, wow, this is fun. I'm going to do this right away. Well, no, not during working hours. You wait until 5 p.m. and then you do it, right? Right. So today I ran into K3K. And yes, it sounds like it is what it sounds like. If you all remember Kind, which was Kubernetes and Docker, it was a way of running multiple nodes inside of Docker, Kubernetes nodes, right? So pretty cool. You'd have multiple like clusters and whatnot. This is a way to run multiple uh, clusters, so nested inside of K3s. K3s, one of my beloved Kubernetes distributions. I mean, probably my favorite because for demonstrations, demos, it's great. Talos, though, is really good too. So I'm kind of like, so this is really interesting. I decided to take a look at it and I installed it and I'll show you very quickly that. First, though, I have to talk about one of the conferences I went to. So I'm wearing the swag, as you can see. This is really cool swag. St. John's B-Sides. So B-Sides is a security conference. Very cool. Very tough questions from these people if you're working. And the swag. I mean, I that is such a cool piece of swag. I wear this all over the place. Um, and I also went hiking. Now I'm going to warn you for the faint at heart, like close your eyes, because they have trails around St. John's, and these are hardcore trails. I mean, the sign says medium to hard, and I went in there all macho. I've walked in Northern Ontario. No, not the same thing. So the one that goes to Cape Spear, which is the furthest eastern point in North America, it actually goes to a town before that, and then go another 2 miles. That was hard. It started off right away with rocks climbing up, and I mean, okay, you're not doing this kind of stuff, with a rope or anything, but still, it was extremely tiring. And then the whole trail was just up and down, roots, wobbly walks, wobbly rocks, which of course, you know what that means? That means potential ankle sprain. And in some of these locations, there was no cell service. So if you sprain your ankle and there's no cell service, and this time of year, September, October, very few hikers, guess what? You're going to have a long crawl back. So I'm going to show you a couple pictures because I really like this. So let's go back here and I'll pull out these photos to show you. So first and foremost, look at that. That is not like Photoshop or AI Shop or Sora or Sora's video, but who cares? That's real. That drop is real too, and that's not even one of the worst ones. There are places where you can go right up. There's no barrier. There's no, don't sue me kind of like, no. It's just you want to walk, you keep going. And it would not be a fun fall. But the views are spectacular. So look at that. And at one point, the weather changes. So it's sunny and then it went to rain. And sunny and rain. At one point, there was a rainbow coming out of the ocean. I'm not joking. And not to mention, see all the ships going by, and then the fog hits. It's wild. And obviously, being a Veeam Vanguard and getting Veeam swag, I had to do the usual, and to show a piece of Veeam swag in the wild. But this is especially important because these trails said, wear trail stuff, like wear trail hiking boots and all that. And I'm not going to bring hiking boots all the way. I'll have to pay for extra luggage. So these fellows went with me, and you know what? They did a great job. I did not sprain my ankle. I was exhausted. I could barely walk at the end of it, but they survived. A little bit of scuffing here, probably from the boulders and stuff, because these wiggly boulders. But the Veeam shoes survived, and they still look pretty good. So considering the fact that these things thought they were being made to be in some, Los Angeles showroom or Las Vegas, shiny disco, whatever, they ended up in St. John's on the rough trail. So, but they're happy. They told me, this is the life I wanted. Okay, so enough of my silliness. Let's take a look at our K3K. So here is the GitHub repo. They also have a website, but it's very easy to install. They give you a description of it. It is experimental, so don't run right away and start using this production. It probably will always be in experimental mode, or who knows. For my purposes, I don't care as long as it works more or less. They have two modes, which is interesting. One is called shared mode, which optimizes utilization of resources, obviously because it's sharing them. So kind of like in a virtualization cluster, probably it can give a cluster more if it needs it and then take it away. And then there's virtual mode, which provides complete isolation. which also pretty cool, depending on what you want to do. Obviously, my task with this is going to be to try to set up maybe a couple of clusters eventually with cast and running and try multi-cluster using this, because it'd be fantastic for demo. You can use K3S with multiple nodes, but this is talking multiple clusters, and it should be a lot less complicated. Anyways, a lot of information here. They have their own little, obviously, command line client, K3K CLI. You can do things with that. Well, that's what you create the cluster with. You do things. That's what you create the cluster with. And the cluster, this is the end of the day, by the way, so I'm a little bit slurring my words after a hard day at work. Creating a cluster is very simple. Reminds me of Kind, K3K CLI cluster, create my cluster. So, you know, and that's basic. So you're not adding anything on, you're not doing anything crazy, anything wild. You can. And they have a lot of documentation about it. And there's a great architecture documentation. Look at that, little pictures and stuff, diagrams, very nice, very, you know, pleasant to look at. I haven't read it all yet. I will. So obviously I went and I installed this, you know, obviously after 5 o'clock, and I got one cluster going. So the only fun thing, that's not so much fun, but where you have to be tricky is I want to access both these clusters on the same node. So obviously both these clusters have their own kube config file. The kube config file lists things like the name of the cluster, the user, the context, and most importantly, it has the certificates, which give you the RBAC access to do what you can do. And in this case, you're, of course, full-blown, you know, administrator of the cluster. And so you need this to be able to access. And you've got 2 clusters on one node. So what do? You have to merge these kube config files so that in one kube config file, you have both contexts and you can switch between them. So if I want to work in the host context, the mothership, so to speak, I just can switch to that one. If I want to go down to one, because you got multiple, one of the clusters nested, you can do that as well. Now, I only installed one nested cluster. I didn't want to go too crazy. So here is the higher level. So there I am. It's normal K3S. And this has been around for a while, so I didn't create a brand new K3S. It's one of the ones I have sitting around. And there it is. You got control plane and master. But if I do a kube config and then get contexts after the merge, you will see I have K3S host and K3K. A bit of a silly name for the nested one, but I was rushed for time. Obviously, if I was going to have more of these, depending on how many resources I had and what mode I'm using, either virtual or shared, I'd give it a better name, like for whatever it's doing. So let's switch contexts. And if you don't remember from your CK exam, which was an important part of it, if I remember correctly. Oh, no, it wasn't. I'm sorry. Be careful. Lose my certification, which is going to run out probably in half a year anyways. And I'm not going to spend $500 to renew it. So enough talking. Let's use context. K3K. Okay, so now if I do K get nodes, you will see, boom. And this is interesting. It's come up as the role agent. So here the role on the mothership is control plane master. This one is role agent. So I haven't read enough to find out why that is. It was just because by default it does that, or can you actually have a server one? Either way, you can see this is a different cluster. Got different namespaces. This is basic with nothing in it. And if you go into, for instance, the kube system, get po and kube system, you will see only thing in there is core DNS, the DNS. So also no storage class as of yet, but you can use it. So you can actually leverage the mothership storage class. I think you can even install your own here. I haven't gone that far yet. But still, that is the nested cluster. So let's go back up. So I'm going to go to K3S host. And now you'll see that I am back in the main cluster. Now, if we look at this, you'll see the namespaces. You'll notice right away something. So here, there's K3K cluster 01. That's a namespace, and that is the cluster. That contains the cluster that we were just in. So if we look at what's in there, on the namespace, K3K cluster, you'll see core DNS, right? The same thing we saw. And then we've got a kubelet, okay, a kubelet, and then server. So again, that's the little brain of that. Now, you'll also have noticed that there's a K3K. Well, there's a K3K My Cluster. That's one I created, and it didn't delete the namespace when I deleted the cluster for some reason. So I have to look into that. But then there's K3K System. And this basically is the pod in there, which is running K3K, which is responsible for that. So we take a look at that. So kind of like Kube System, that's K3K System. So that's what's running. And it's just a pod. And there you have it. Now, as you can see here, I do have a storage class. I've got Longhorn. So my next little trick will be to see if I can get Longhorn in the other one. I'm assuming if I use a shared, as it said, shared cluster, which I don't know which one it does by default. I think it does virtual by default. I'll have to look at that. Then this will automatically pop up. So very interesting. I'm going to continue doing that. And my ultimate goal will be to create a great, really fantastic mini Kasten demo for multi-cluster. We have also Kasten DR. So my second part, by the way, of my Kasten DR blog will be coming out very soon, probably this week. And so that'll be the continuation of the, as I said before, the very simple Kasten DR system that's now available. It used to be a little bit more complicated. It was all command line. Now you can do it all from the UI. It is great. All right. Well, thank you very much. That's enough for this week. Remember, K3K, hooray, a lot of fun. And we will see you next week on the Cube Vanguard.